Hello. I haven't done a video once in a while, and I was meaning to do a post after every single event in my med board. That didn't happen. I was working on my penultimate master's class at the same time, and I was also more concerned about what was going on in the med board than I was about posting about it after the fact. So after the brief, over the following 2 weeks, I had 4 appointments for the first part of the med board. So med boards are split into 2 sections. One is the medical evaluation board, or the MEB, and the second part is the physical evaluation board, or the PEB. They sound the same, but they're not the same. The MEB, I'm just going to call it MEB for simplicity. That is the board where you're being physically evaluated by a doctor. Like I said, I had 4 appointments. Well, I'm not really sure one of them counts necessarily. The first one, so I selected the option, I will do any appointment, anytime, any place, because I just wanted to get it over with. Well, the first one was on a Saturday night at 6 p.m., virtual. Lesson learned. That one was for psych, and at first it was kind of felt like she was just ticking the boxes. I don't remember her name, so I can't tell you anything about her, but also if I did remember her name, I wouldn't share her name for privacy. In a matter of 10-15 minutes, we completed everything we needed to complete to fill in the details. Well, in that 15 minutes, I mentioned that I had just concluded my 10th session of therapy that the Army was paying for through the Marine Corps system. I want to say it's Marine Corps Community Support. I want to say that's the name of theirs. Behavioral health was on. Okay. There we go. Was booked up for months, and I was willing to have the Army pay for just 10 if I could get therapy just sooner rather than later. And it helped. I had a lot of breakthroughs. Halfway through, I had a breakup with a woman I thought I was going to marry at one point. I had engagement ring designs. I hadn't paid anyone to make it. I had a proposal in my head. I was in deep. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And she broke up with me. This is about 3 months before we were going to move in together. So I definitely needed the therapy. That was more convenient timing than it was causation. It's all correlation. But when I had that first MEB appointment, it was with the psychiatrist, I think she'd be a psychiatrist. And when we got done talking, I was like, it doesn't sound like I'm going to get anything for this. And she goes, technically I could stop right now and give you a 0 rating. But you don't go to 10 sessions of therapy if everything's just fine. Talk to me. So I told her what was going on, everything. And she's like, Yeah, thank you for opening up a bit because you've got some problems. I mean, I'm not taking medication for psych, but she could tell that there were issues. I also mentioned that, yeah, I'm going to seek out therapy after I get out of the Army. That's going to happen. If it's on the VA's dime or on my own, I'm paying for therapy. That's happening. Spoiler alert. I'm getting 50% for psych. Then the next two were rolled into one. Um, I only had to drive about 5 miles away. My knee was in incredible pain that day. Like, I wasn't faking it. My knee hurt. I was having trouble standing, and my weight was entirely on one leg. It was raining that day, and when it rains like really bad, my knee starts to hurt. It was raining outside earlier today, and I'm feeling the storm front in my knee right now. And that first one was just hearing. I did not claim hearing, but I did, but I did have that appointment. I think that's because they just want to know if anyone has tinnitus. Tinnitus is a very common claim in the military, let alone the Army. So I think it's just mandated military wide. Everyone does that. I didn't claim it because I don't have it. I would rather tell you, no, I don't have it and get nothing for it than tell you that I do have it and lie and take those resources from a vet who does have it, who wasn't able to bag hard enough. I can't do that. So, no, I was honest, I didn't get anything for that. One thing I claimed I do have medication for, I was diagnosed. It's 0%, but it's like a $120 check or something every month. Cool. The reason I was getting medboarded in the first place, the second part was at 9:30 a.m. So it's 2 appointments. The hearing only lasts for like 15 minutes, maybe 20. And then I had like an hour. So I was able to run home, grab the med docs that I forgot to bring with me by 8 o'clock, which I did need, by the way. Brought them back, and I was there by 9:30. Yeah, I mentioned the first one. Then the one for which I'm being medically retired is EOE, or eosinophilic esophagitis. I think you understand why I'm calling it EOE. I'm taking not one, but 2 medications for it. And that's what I'm being retired for. Spoiler alert, I was found unfit. I'm taking swallowed steroids twice a day, and I'm injecting myself in the stomach every week. Once a week, but every week nonetheless. I like not having the symptoms of EOE, which I've had for a while, but at the same time, I don't like the medication. I don't like stabbing myself in the stomach. It hurts. I don't mind the swallowed steroids so much. The annoying part is I have alarms on my phone, so I don't forget to take it. I don't like it, but it's worth it. Mostly because I know the consequences of not taking it because I lived with it. I'm getting 30% for that. The lawyer I spoke with, she said I might get 50, but that's maybe, but I cleared the hurdle for 30. Next one is the one that was by far the easiest. I'm prescribed to CPAP. For those of you who don't know, that's for sleep apnea. I did a sleep study back in 2023, and I've been using a CPAP ever since. This is May of 25. I've been consistently using it. I don't particularly enjoy that either, but it comes with the territory, I guess. And that one is straight out of the reg. It's by far the most verbatim. And I'm getting 50% for that. I mentioned my knee hurt, right? Well, I hurt my knee on running a 10K in June of 23, and it caused patellofemoral pain syndrome. Knees are a lot harder to rate, so I didn't know what I was going to get. I was prescribed a knee brace at the time, so I got 10% for that. And the event that, and those are all the claims that were accepted in the MEB or MEB. And now the ratings were not determined in the MEB because that's not how that works. Works is they take the findings from the examinations and they determine whether or not the Army finds that there is an acceptable claim. The doctors determine that, the Army itself does not. Now, sleep apnea, you can be prescribed it. You can be prescribed a CPAP. You get what's called a P2 profile, meaning that you are required to be somewhere that has basically a wall outlet, and you are able to get 8 hours of sleep every night. You're not getting, you're not getting deployed to combat. But say if you are attached to a unit that goes to Germany and you're supporting a unit in Ukraine, this is hypothetical, this isn't real. But if that were the case, then with the CPAP, you can stay in Germany and support that unit, however it is that your job would support them, but you're not going to Ukraine. That's kind of how that would work. The knee, basically, it's just like, you're in pain, we'll give you 10% for it. Tough shit. And then psych, it's like, oh, you're not taking medication, so talk to a therapist later. That's kind of how the Army treats that, but it was still 50%. Later found. But the EOE is the one that matters, because even though it was only 30% compared to the other two, per the regulation, it found me unfit for service. You cannot be taking swallowed steroids, let alone twice a day, and continue to serve. Because no, you cannot be deployed and have to be actively taking medication. That's why I was talking about the CPAP. Like, you can be like back in Germany where there's a wall outlet. Wall outlet looks a little, or they use 220 outlets there, so adapters are necessary. and you need to be careful. But you can do that. Whereas like a swallowed steroid, you can't do that. And you're sure as hell not going to bring something you have to inject yourself with every week. So yeah, they found me unfit. Oh, there were 4 appointments. The fourth one, I was claiming astigmatism, but they're like, dude, no. I claimed a couple of other things, but they were declined, and it doesn't really matter in this context. I'm not airing that dirty laundry out. But yeah, I got the results from the MEB back really fast. So the brief that I had that I talked about last time was on March 25th. I got the results from the MEB on April 18th. And this past Wednesday, May 14th, is when I got the results from the PEB back, or PEB. I mentioned that they're different. So even though it's called a physical evaluation board, you're not seen by a doctor. You're not seen by a physician. That's when the results from those physicals go back to the VA. And they determine ratings. They determine if you're fit or unfit. And they determine if you're going to remain in service. There are possibilities where you can be found unfit by the VA and found fit by the Army. It's a mess. Well, yeah, it's a mess. But that is how that works. I am not involved in the PEB at any point. When the MEB when the MEB is complete, I sign the paperwork. Don't worry about the numbers. That's just mumbo jumbo, really. For the purposes of this discussion, it means something in practice, but not for talking to a camera. You sign all the documents. If you want to fight those results in the MEB, it's because you don't want to be found unfit, and something in there says that you did. So you can fight that. That's your chance to do that. I didn't want to fight it. I was actually hoping that would be the result. I don't want to be taking 2 medications and being prescribed CPAP and trying to do another 9 years to get 20 years of service. I don't want that. I wanted this over. Or I wanted to, in as healthy a way as possible, get out of the Army and maintain what health I have remaining. So yeah, I concurred with it. I didn't want to fight the claims that weren't accepted. It wasn't really worth it to me. And anyone else who looked at that same thing, if I authorized them to, would probably have come to the same conclusion. The people I talked to, the ones involved, they felt the same. So that went to the PEB, and it's only the accepted claims. At least that's what they really care about, especially having agreed with the claims. They were far less apt to look at the rest, the ones that got denied. So they looked at the accepted claims and agreed with the findings of the MEB. I got that back on the 14th. I had a choice then to either concur with the results, to disagree because I didn't like the rating, felt that it was too low, disagree because I changed my mind and want to try to stay in the Army, which some people do that. For those that do, more power to you. I'm not going to argue with you. That is your business. That is what you do. Cool. I didn't want that. I was happy to see that the Army found me unfit, that the VA found me unfit, and I mentioned the VA ratings, 50, 50, 30, 10. No, that does not mean I got 140%. That would be rad, but that's not how VA math works. VA math is designed to not get you 100. I have yet to have found anyone who disagreed with me on that. And when I told my liaison, the person who helped me with this process, and the lawyer, they agreed with me. Yeah, needless to say, there's a reason I keep my last name off social media. I concurred with findings because all those percentages combined equal 90%. That doesn't really seem right when you think about those numbers, but that's how it adds up. That's how it works. That's what happens. It's not my fight. That is not my fight. I'm not a person who's going to try to fight the VA rating system because that's not who I am. That's not my job. That's not what I do. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to get into that fight. Not that I hear anyone actually doing anything about that. I digress. I got 90%. If you go to the VA math website, it will explain it. va.gov. Just type in VA math calculator, take you right there. Just make sure you look at the va.gov website to make sure that you're looking at the right website. The other ones that pop up on Google, they'll get you the same result. At least the early ones, I didn't dig past the first page. Just for context. I agreed to the findings. I'm getting 90%. Which, given my situation, will be enough to pay for rent. That money is tax-free for the rest of my life because, inflation and whatnot, the rate will go up, not the 90%. That's staying the same. The amount that is connected to 90% will go up with inflation or however much the government decides to add to it. Yesterday was when the data separation was presented to me. So I know I'm getting out of the Army officially August 13th. So I'm going to have 10 days to out process. The second my orders get cut, because that hasn't happened yet, but my orders should come out either next week or the week after, probably next week. Second that happens, I'm going to be talking to my leadership saying, hey, this is what my orders say. I want to apply for permissive TDY. Because I'm already applying for jobs. I'm not screwing around with that. I got 89 days. I know that because it was yesterday, and it's stated as like 90 days from the day after the concurrence with the PEB findings. That's just how it works. Don't ask me about the pedantics. I'm not that guy. Though I do like that word. I digress. I am already applying for jobs. I've already been offered a few. I'll dig in deeper, see what jobs I can get, see what job I can get, and see how reasonable it will be to stay in a very specific area I want to live in, do a job I want to do, and then basically use my VA rating to pay for my bills, at least, the everlasting ones. See if I can get a high enough paying job that I can live where I want to live. If I get a VA home loan, it's actually worth it to put down roots, so to speak. I'm not married. I don't have kids, so I don't need to worry about that. And I want that to work out. I want to make my life just less stressed. I'm tired of having to shave every day. My hair is out of rag right now, but if you're a normal person, you wouldn't be able to tell. So I'm already sick of cutting my hair every day, sick of shaving every day, sick of trying to keep my belly skinny enough that I can, keep my job. I don't like working out. I'm ready to get out. I don't regret any of this. And I don't just mean concurring with the PEB findings, concurring with the MEB findings. I was never hurt by the fact that the med board came down the pipe. I don't regret any of the decisions I made my entire career. And depends on your definition of regret as to whether I have any throughout my life. Sure, there are decisions that we would all take back. And yeah, I got a few of those. But I don't truly regret any of the decisions I've made. Sure, I wish I was married and had kids by now, but at the same time, it just hasn't happened. So when that does happen, cool. In the meantime, keep dating. Keep seeing a therapist or go back to seeing a therapist when I get out, because I finished that 10th session, so the Army won't pay for any more of those with the Marine Corps thing. And starting therapy right now just isn't reasonable. I'll get my master's degree by the time my separation date rolls around. Let me clarify. I'll finish my master's capstone in July. I need to apply for graduation, so that may not happen until December, but the work, all the requirements to graduate will have been fulfilled. So ordering a transcript will probably say graduated on it, which will probably create a pay bump. Whether I choose to go to college again after this is anybody's guess. I don't really feel like it, but at the same time, hey, I may change my mind. I've done that. I don't regret when I do. I don't regret what led to the mind changing in the first place. I'm open to it. But yeah, can keep working. Try and do the best I can. I said I was going to keep up. Bring this back. Said I was going to try to go through every one of these things because, this is my thing. This is what I went through. This is my process. This was my med board. It was. just didn't really have time for it, so I kind of stopped after a while. Yeah, I don't regret it. So if you decide to watch the stream after the fact, which I think there's no one watching right now, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me prattle. If you're going through a similar situation, or you have, if you want to reach out because you're, you just want some kind of advice as to what's going on or how it works. I can tell you everything right now, but I think it'd be easier just to reach out and not make this stream last longer than it already is. I think I've covered everything. I think I can end it here, and cheers.